Ready to play a game? No, we're not talking about Saw or that franchise. I suppose it would be a pretty interesting topic. No, today we shall be looking into the infamous demon known by the name of ZoZo. Longer time viewers may remember the name, and you would be correct. As part of the Month or Myth series that I did focus a video on this entity. However, that was almost 2 years back at this point, and gosh, I'm getting old. Anyways, today we shall be returning to this topic as ZoZo continues to gain more and more interest, especially when discussing possessions and hauntings related to Ouija boards. Now, like mentioned in the original video, ZoZo isn't really the most well documented of demons, though it remains one of the more widely reported when it comes to sightings or experiences. The whole poorly documented aspect just is referring to most people not really knowing what is happening, so basically just average people playing around with the boards, not realizing what's going on. And yes, playing, because I know it's technically a board game now, which is still a little bizarre in my mind, but I'll let it slide. But that is a whole other story and discussion. Who or what is ZoZo, and when did all of this really start? Well, reports and writings about this entity seem to date back as far as the 1800s. Anything further back cannot entirely be confirmed to hold connections, so basically let's just place ZoZo's quote birth around that time period. As for how he is sighted and exactly where, it seems nearly everyone who has had reports of him have had direct correlation with either Ouija boards or Ouija board activity. People all across the globe have accounts of contacting something or someone who claims their name is ZoZo. Among some of these reports, if the board's planchette, the star piece that you use to communicate, begins sliding back and forth between the letters Z and O over and over, you more or less are in contact with this entity. There are, however, a few accounts in which the alleged demon has connected through other forms of spirit communication, such as pendulums and auto-writing sessions, but the bulk still remains through Ouija boards. What does this demon want though, especially if it seems the only really appears to people experimenting with Ouija boards? Well, reports range a bit, and it does seem to be connected to people's knowledge of the Ouija boards themselves. For instance, there are, quote, proper ways of performing the sessions as well as closing them. Since most average people may not exactly know this information, one may get panicked and wish to end the game abruptly, allowing this entity to have a bit more free range with either the player themselves or the place of residence. So ZoZo reports connect a bit more to that of poltergeists and hauntings, more so than straight up demonic possessions. Although there are a few reports out there, there is nothing as extreme as some famous demonic stories. No, ZoZo seems to more or less focus on the mental stability of individuals, attacking people's minds and causing psychological issues while haunting someone, while also having some influence across the physical plane, tying back to the whole poltergeist and haunting aspect, as people do get an uneasy sensation, a feeling of being watched or not entirely being alone inside of a room. Reports of seeing shadows moving around, objects moving positions, and items just straight up going missing. All that good sort of stuff. And there are paranormal investigators who agree with this. All of that was from Rosemary Ellen Gully, an investigator and author of over 50 books about the paranormal. People are looking into these accounts. I mean, just think about it. There are demonic reports all the time, but when do you get one that is on such a scale as this? Hundreds if not thousands of people reporting about this same entity across the globe and throughout decades. It certainly seems to be a high-end case and would probably cause for a better chance of finding evidence, though there doesn't seem to be a very end-all explanation to solve what or who ZoZo exactly is. Obviously there are going to be skeptics on this matter disproving this as even being real, but even within the paranormal community, people are unsure about this. There are some who say that this is simply a demon, very ancient and powerful one, while there are others who believe this to merely be a sort of spirit abnormality that is simply using the boards to move across the globe and influence more people. People have even used certain types of ciphers and the means to decode the word ZoZo and alter it in order to possibly get a deeper meaning out of it. Two such results are actually Alal and Apep, and probably not pronouncing that right, but it's ALA and APEP, which placed in separate contexts add a bit of support to this whole evil entity possibility, as Alal in Assyrian demonology refers to the demons of destruction. We can even look into Chaldean text, and Alal is described as being a form of shape-shifting demons who attempt to influence people into sinning, which could possibly explain why ZoZo is so abstract. Perhaps it is simply altering itself to affect people differently. As for Apep, again, probably pronouncing that wrong, but once more, it's APEP. That is simply the Egyptian serpent of evil, or the devourer of souls, and the embodiment of evil itself. Basically, think of it as Lucifer in Christian theology as being the ultimate form of evil within the universe. But this could simply be a coincidence, and the latter may just be pushing it and trying to find something that's not there. And this is just scratching the surface. There are even people who claim ZoZo as being a tulpa, which we did talk about in a different video linked below, but basically a being or creature created through the existence of people believing in it. Or that ZoZo is simply people placing these effects on themselves, hearing stories of this entity, and anticipating for experiences somewhat similar to happen to themselves, letting their mind basically play tricks on them in the process. Whether or not ZoZo is real or fake or whatever it may be, people out there do believe in it, and reports still surface to this day. So just remember to be careful and do not play around with things that you don't fully understand. This goes for both the paranormal and the physical world, so just stay safe, kiddies. But that is all we have for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, write down below what you thought about all of this. Have you ever played around with Ouija boards once or twice in your life? Hopefully nothing happened on this scale, but you know, if it did, write those stories down below and I would love to read them. Also, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, as I cover a wide array of paranormal and supernatural topics, so you never know what we're going to look into next. Until then though, I hope you guys have an awesome day, and remember, stay spooky.